Heartwarming revelation. Millionaire's last night with his ex unexpectedly transformed everything. Jack stood at the edge of his childhood town, Willow Creek, feeling a bitter swell of memories wash over him like a cool summer breeze. This was the place where he had once played hopscotch on cracked sidewalks, celebrated small victories in a diner booth, and dreamed of a better life. Now, at 42 and worth millions, he seemed a stranger to the town that shaped him. All the money in the world couldn't replace the community values he once cherished. As he prepared for the charity gala, an irony crept into him. He had escaped his roots only to be pulled back by his own past. The night before the gala, an unexpected visitor walked through the door of the modest hotel room he had booked. Sarah, his ex-wife, stood there, her familiar brown hair catching the light, eyes glistening with unspoken emotions. It sent shockwaves through him. Their separation had been a quiet storm. Ambition had driven them apart. The love they'd nurtured had frayed under the pressure of his relentless pursuit of success. But now, standing there, Sarah stirred something deep within him, something he thought he had buried. Over a meal at Charlie's Diner, where the smell of bacon lingered like a memory, they reminisced about the dreams they once shared, laughing at how they used to munch on burgers as they mapped out plans for changing the world. Faces beamed with hope then, now shadows flickered across their features. Jack felt a lump form in his throat. Here they were, adults haunted by aspirations unfulfilled. Yet as they laughed, the memories ignited something in Jack, a flicker of what they used to be. He saw warmth in Sarah's eyes, and felt the air thick with longing, the kind that reminded him how far he'd strayed. Before they could peel back the scars of time, his phone rang, shattering the moment like glass. It was his business partner, a voice shaking with urgency. Rumors were spreading, whispers of questionable deals, dubious funds behind his success. Jack's chest tightened, the weight of fear coursing through him. As he looked into Sarah's concerned eyes, he was torn. Should he prioritize clearing his name, or focus on the community gala meant to support the struggling schools? The thought of failing those kids wrenched his gut. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can, drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue.
The weight of his decisions pressed like a chain around his neck, every moment pulling him deeper into the turmoil. The thought of facing the community felt insurmountable, yet Sarah's presence anchored him. Memories of their shared values, hard work and loyalty, flooded his mind like a long-lost melody, urging him to choose integrity over reputation. As they shared a glance, Jack's heart raced. Could he find redemption? Risk everything for love and community? As the gala approached, Jack wondered if he had enough courage to rise above the storm that threatened to unravel him. With anticipation thick in the air, the clock kept ticking, leading him to confront not just his past mistakes, but perhaps a chance revival of the love he'd thought he'd lost forever. As he stood on the brink of his choices, the crowd waiting with bated breath, Jack felt a breathtaking mix of hope and fear, and uncertainty that left them and himself questioning what would come next. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm golden hue over Willow Creek. Jack felt every heartbeat echo like a drum, loud and persistent in the quiet room. The charity gala was only an hour away, yet he stood frozen in place, grappling with the whirlwind of emotions swirling around him. His life felt poised on a razor's edge, the thrill of possibilities hanging heavy in the air alongside the weight of dire consequences. Sarah wandered over to the window, her profile silhouetted against the fading light. "You know," she said gently, her voice barely above a whisper, "you don't have to do this alone." Jack swallowed hard, guilt weighing on his chest. "You don't understand, Sarah. The rumors, they could destroy everything I've built. Not just my company, but our lives, the people who depend on us." Turning to face him, her eyes sparkled with a fierce intensity. "But is your legacy just money? Or is it the lives you change with that money? You have the power to turn this around." Her words hung in the air, suspended like the last notes of a beautiful symphony. Jack felt a spark ignite within him. It was a reminder of the idealistic kid who used to dream of making a difference, not just for himself, but for his hometown and the people who lived there. "I owe it to them and to myself to come clean,"
he finally said, a resolve forming like steel in his spine. If I have to face the music tonight, then at least I can do it while standing for what I believe in. Sarah stepped closer, her warmth radiating like sunlight breaking through clouds. Whatever happens, I'm here. You don't need to carry this burden alone. With her reassurance, Jack felt the tension in his chest release just a little. Perhaps this night held more than just a gala. It teetered on the brink of redemption, and possibly rekindling the love they'd thought was lost in the shadows of his ambition. Time trickled by, leaving Jack feeling like he was wrapped in a bubble, separated from the chaos of the outside world.
As they prepared to leave, Jack caught a glimpse of himself in the mirror. Gone was the confident businessman clad in designer suits. Instead, he recognized a man caught between his past and future. The man he wanted to be stared back at him, challenging him to embrace the vulnerability and strength that lay ahead. Arriving at the venue, the energy buzzed like electricity, laughter and chatter weaving through the crowd in an exhilarating dance. Jack's heart raced as he stepped inside, the glimmer of chandeliers reflecting off polished surfaces. Yet within that beauty was a stark reality. The whispers would find their way here, and the eyes of the town, people he had long neglected, would be upon him. As Jack scanned the room, he felt Sarah's hand slip into his. It was a lifeline, a reminder that he wasn't alone. They made their way to the podium, but with each step, doubt crawled back in, clinging to him like a shadow. Could he really face what was coming? The microphone hummed, waiting, as the crowd grew silent. Breath caught in his throat, Jack looked out across familiar faces, old friends, and children who deserved better than his tarnished reputation. Taking a deep breath, he began his speech.
"Thank you all for being here tonight," he started. But just as he dove into his truth, the doors burst open, and in strode a group of reporters, cameras flickering like fireflies. Jack's stomach dropped. Was this the moment everything fell apart, or a chance for him to rise from the ashes? His grip on the microphone tightened. Would he choose transparency, faith, and vulnerability, or would he crumble under the weight of expectations? As the first question was hurled at him, waiting for a response, Jack felt the world hold its breath. What would he say? The moment had arrived. Jack's heart raced as he faced the thrumming energy of the crowd, mixed with the sudden weight of scrutiny. The reporters, armed with microphones and insatiable curiosity, zeroed in on him. Flashes illuminated the dim room, underscoring the monumental pressure resting on his shoulders. He could feel the eyes of Willow Creek on him, a sea of expectation waiting for the truth he had been guarding for far too long. "Mr. Sullivan, can you comment on the allegations regarding your company's financial practices?" one reporter shouted, cutting through the electric silence. Jack blinked. The question hung heavily in the air, challenging him to react. He hesitated, his mind racing back to the countless moments he'd spent hiding from the truth, lying to himself and others. The memories swirled, each one a ghost of his past, a reminder of all he stood to lose. "Let's get one thing clear," he began, his voice quivering but gaining strength with every word. "I've made mistakes. I've chased profits at the cost of integrity, and I truly regret how that has impacted our community." Murmurs rippled through the audience.
Faces shifted from curiosity to surprise, and whispers bounced off the walls. Jack pushed forward, his heartbeat steadying. "For years, I thought success was about dollars and cents, but I've been dead wrong. True success, true legacy, is measured in the lives we touch, not just the wealth we accumulate." He sought Sarah's gaze, grounding himself in her unwavering support. Her smile bolstered his courage. The next question came, one about whether he would step down from his position. "Are you resigning, Mr. Sullivan?" "Maybe I should," he replied, feeling the weight of his failure in each syllable. "But instead, I want to fight for my company. I want to transform it, the way I wish I'd transformed myself long ago." He paused, eyes wide, adrenaline pumping as he had their full attention. "I refuse to let rumors dictate the future of this town. Instead, I choose to use my platform to help those in need, to give back to Willow Creek in ways I haven't before." A collective gasp swept through the room, and for a brief moment, Jack felt an unfamiliar thrill surge within him. Vulnerability was powerful. It was freeing.
Tonight, I'm announcing a new initiative, Willow Rise, he declared, unsure but determined. We'll focus on education, housing, and healthcare, ensuring more than just my company thrives. I intend to hold myself accountable to each of you. The applause started slow, hesitant, but grew louder, bouncing off the elegant walls, swirling into a chorus of support. Jack's heart swelled. It was no longer about whispers or threats. The community began to rally, to believe again. And then Sarah stepped closer, her eyes sparkling with pride. "You did it," she said softly, but he felt her words caress his soul. "You really did it." "But it's just the beginning," he replied, his voice thick with emotion. The realization of what he'd promised began to settle in. The road ahead was daunting. Yet again, doubt crept at the edges of his mind. Could he truly handle this new mission? As Jack felt the warmth of renewed connection wash over him, a hand raised in the back of the room interrupted his reverie. Another reporter, one Jack recognized but had never wanted to face. This man had once painted him in shades of greed and misdeeds. Silence fell again. "Mr. Sullivan," the reporter began, an edge in his tone, "can you explain why this sudden change of heart? What's really going on behind the scenes?" The buzz of expectation shifted, tension filling the air once more. Jack suddenly found himself 2 steps away from chaos once again, a spotlight burning down on him as the world tilted. What truth would he reveal next? Would he risk everything with another revelation that could unite or fracture? With the weight of choice heavy upon him, Jack took a breath, ready to confront what came next. Jack's pulse quickened as he stared into the piercing eyes of the reporter, knowing this moment could shift everything he had built.
Questions ran through his mind like a torrent, but he pushed them aside. The stakes were high, and he had to step up. "I can't expect anyone to just trust me on words alone," he said, his voice steadying. "But I'm here to own my truth. This isn't about my company's reputation, but about the people who rely on it. The truth is, I'm a man who's been lost in my ambitions. I let greed cloud my vision. I didn't just fail myself, I failed this community, and I'm here to make that right." The room shifted, the tension swirling into intrigue. Faces softened as Jack's sincerity cut through the cynicism that had built over the years. He pressed on, feeling the heat of vulnerability wash over him. "I've had the privilege of being a part of this town's growth, yet I've taken so much for granted. The resources, the labor, the trust, and I squandered it in pursuit of a fleeting image of success," he confessed, emotions tightening in his throat. He noticed Sarah nodding slowly at the back, her encouragement piercing through the chaos. Jack felt resolve pulse through him, a steady flame igniting the passion he had neglected. "So this initiative isn't just a way to protect my company, it's a way to restore my heart and reconnect with each of you, to rebuild trust and show you that our community deserves better." He felt the atmosphere shift again, this time towards something softer, something hopeful. Applause bubbled up spontaneously, echoing off the walls. Jack took the moment to scan the crowd, catching glimpses of nods and smiles, a flicker of something precious beginning to reappear. But then he brought his focus back to the reporter, whose expression shifted from skepticism to curiosity. "And what about the rumors of impending financial collapse?" he insisted, pushing. "Can this initiative truly save your company?" "I won't sugarcoat it," Jack admitted. "We're in a tough spot. But if we do this together, as a community, we can pull through. I believe in Willow Creek. I believe in us." He felt the weight of the words and witnessed the crowd's shifting energy, their hopes sparking light in the dense fog of uncertainty. Yet Jack couldn't shake a nagging feeling, like a shadow lurking just out of sight. He was certain there were forces working against him, poised to undermine his intentions. As the reporters began to lose interest, the familiar emotional swell of resolve filled him again. Change doesn't come from one person. It's about all of us taking steps together. I'm here to lead the way, to listen, and to do better, he added, his heart racing, but the reality of his uncertainties loomed like a dark cloud. As he left the stage amid applause, that lingering question echoed in his mind. Could he truly bring about the transformation he promised? The crowd's cheers faded away into a distant hum, replaced by the quiet realization of just how much lay ahead, but also by a nagging fear of the obstacles that awaited.
That night, as Jack returned home, he felt the world shift once more.
Sarah's voice floated in from the living room, laughter ringing bright. It was a reminder of warmth, of possibility, of the love he'd neglected in chasing dreams. Could the very community that once turned its back on him embrace his new path? Would the winds of change be strong enough to guide him through the storm of doubt? And as he walked further into the room, he caught a flicker of concern in Sarah's eyes. What would their future truly hold? Jack took a deep breath as he stepped further into the living room, trying to shake off the echoes of his earlier speech. The soft glow of the table lamp illuminated Sarah's face, and he cherished the warmth it brought. She was his anchor. "Hey you," she said, her eyes sparkling beneath the light. There was a comforting familiarity in her expression, an unspoken understanding that melted some of the tension coiling inside him. He forced a smile, but the weight of his day lingered. "I surprised myself out there. I didn't think I had it in me to be so honest," he told her, crossing the room to the couch. "I think you did great," she replied, easing down beside him. "The community needed to hear that. They've lost trust, and you're showing them you're willing to fight for it." "Yeah, but can I really do it?" Jack stared into her eyes, seeking reassurance. "I mean, what if the rumors are true? What if we don't have the funds to implement this initiative?" As Sarah opened her mouth to respond, the phone buzzed on the coffee table, breaking the moment. He reached for it and saw a text from his business advisor. His heart sank as he read the words. "We need to talk. There's a developing situation." "Jack?" Sarah's voice interrupted his spiral. The worry etched into her forehead tugged at him. "What is it?" "Just business stuff," he sighed, waving his hand dismissively. "Nothing to worry about." Her frown deepened. "You know I can help. You don't have to carry this alone," she urged, brushing her fingers delicately against his arm. Jack felt the pressure in his chest begin to ease. It was always easier to shoulder his burdens alone, expecting the weight to be lighter if no one else carried it. Yet there was strength in sharing. "I just don't want to let you down." "You won't, Jack. You're already doing so much by being honest with the community. They need to see the real you, not just the businessman." Her voice held conviction, and for a fleeting moment, he allowed hope to pulse within him. "That's the thing," Jack mused. "This honesty, it could backfire. If things go south, what then? Then we figure it out together," she smiled gently. "You're strong, Jack. You've always faced challenges head-on, and you're not doing it for yourself anymore. You're doing it for Willow Creek and for us." "As long as us is still a thing," he replied, his voice lower now, laced with vulnerability.
Sarah's expression softened, a tender honesty surfacing beneath the laughter that often filled their home. Always. In that moment, Jack realized how much he had taken her for granted. He thought back to his speech, how vulnerability might be the missing piece in his quest for redemption, not just for the community, but for their relationship too. "Sarah," he started, hesitating, his heart racing. "I've been thinking, what if we took some of this risk and invested in the community together?" Her eyes widened in surprise. "What do you mean?" "I mean, we could host an event, start small, bring people together, show them that we truly care, not just me, but us." A smile crept onto Sarah's face, brightening her features. "That sounds amazing." "Do you think they'd join me? Trust me?" Jack felt a mix of anxiety and excitement, like standing atop a cliff, ready to leap into the unknown. "I think they will, especially now," she encouraged. But at the edge of his thoughts loomed that persistent shadow. Could he pull it off without further consequences? The stakes felt impossibly high. Just then, the door creaked open. Jack's heart raced. Someone was standing just outside, possibly waiting to shatter the newfound glow he shared with Sarah. Jack's instincts were suddenly on high alert, his previous courage flickering like a candle in the wind. Who could that be? He wondered aloud, dread settling in his bones. Would it be news that would destroy everything he was trying to build? Jack stood up, the moment thick with tension, when a voice called from the door. "Jack, it's me. We need to talk." Jack's heart raced as he turned toward the door, the words echoing in his mind. The voice belonged to Tom, his business advisor, a man known for delivering urgent messages that never seemed to carry good news. Jack felt a lump in his throat. He wasn't ready to face whatever storm Tom had brought with him. "Tom?" he managed to say, still caught in disbelief. "What's going on?" He felt Sarah's reassuring presence just a heartbeat away, but the shadow of dread was thick in the air. Tom stepped into the living room, looking uncharacteristically frazzled. His shirt was wrinkled, and his hair stuck out as if he had been running. Jack noticed the way his eyes darted to Sarah, gauging her reaction, then back to him, urgency written all over his face. "We need to figure this out, Jack," Tom said,
his voice low and serious. "I just got off the phone with the bank. They're pulling the loan. They think the initiative isn't viable anymore." The words hit Jack like a blow. His stomach dropped. "What do you mean? They can't do that. We just started the process." Anger surged within him, quick and hot. Tom shook his head. "I wish it were different. They're concerned about your community speech, Jack. They feel it's too risky to fund something that may not come to fruition." Jack felt the room close in on him.
The weight of the world had just crashed onto his shoulders. As he sank back into the couch, he glanced at Sarah, expecting to see disappointment or pity on her face. Instead, she looked determined. "Jack," she said softly, moving closer, "this isn't just about the money. You can still inspire those people, right? We can still show them we care. It's about trust. They've lost faith in the system, but there's still hope." He wanted to challenge her, to tell her that hope didn't pay the bills or build the playgrounds he wanted to create for the children of Willow Creek. But her conviction was almost tangible, wrapping around him like a warm blanket on a cold night. "Yeah, but if the initiative fails," he began, feeling the edges of despair creeping in again. "Then it fails," she interrupted, her voice firm. "But what if it doesn't? What if this rallying cry brings people together? What if we turn this around, not just for the community, but for you, for us?" Jack's heartbeat quickened at her words. Could they really turn this into something beautiful? What if this moment was just the catalyst they needed to ignite change? Tom, still pacing at it. "We can seek other funding options. Crowdfunding, sponsors. People want to support good causes. If your heart is in this, Jack, they'll see that." Looking back at Sarah's unwavering faith in him, he felt his resilience starting to rise again, almost as if his worries began to ebb like the tide, slowly withdrawing from the shore, leaving new sand for building. "Maybe we can put it out there, extend an olive branch," Jack said, feeling the pulse of possibility surge within him. "A community day, spotlight local businesses, start building back the trust." "Exactly," Sarah beamed with excitement, her eyes lighting up. "Let's make it a celebration, a way for people to reconnect, share their ideas, and collaborate." Jack stood from the couch, a newfound determination replacing the weight he'd felt moments ago. He turned to Tom. "Let's get the ball rolling. We need a plan, now." "All right," Tom said, pulling out his phone, urgency written all over his features. "I'll call a few contacts. Maybe we can line up a meeting for tomorrow." As Jack took a moment to breathe, the fears that had once overwhelmed him coalesced into a spark, an ember starting to blaze. But just then, a tentative knock echoed at the door once more. It sent a shiver down his spine, an unsettling reminder that the shadows around him hadn't fully faded away. Who could be behind that door this time, ready to add more weight to this already heavy situation? Jack slowly approached the door, heart pounding as he whispered, "What now?" Jack hesitated, his palms sweating slightly against the cool doorknob. What if this knock brought news even worse than what Tom had just delivered? With a deep breath, he pulled the door open, bracing himself for whatever awaited him. Standing there was a familiar face, the last person Jack expected to see.
It was Carla, his high school friend and once his greatest confidant. Her eyes, usually bright and full of laughter, were clouded with concern. "Jack, I heard about the situation," she murmured, stepping into the living room without waiting for an invitation. "Carla, what are you doing here?" Jack asked, a mix of confusion and relief washing over him. Tom eyed Carla skeptically, but Sarah stepped forward, giving her a warm smile. "We're planning a community rally. You heard about us losing the loan?" "Yes, and I thought maybe I could help," Carla replied, her voice steady but urgent. "I've been doing some work with local organizations. We can organize a fundraiser together. I know local business owners who would jump at the chance to support this." As her words sank in, Jack felt a surge of hope. "You really think they would?" he asked, his heart beginning to rise. Carla nodded. "Definitely. It's all about community spirit. If you can show them how this initiative can change lives, folks will want to jump on board, and I know how to mobilize people. Together we can make this happen." The tension in the room lifted slightly as Sarah's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Would you really do that? We could use all the help we can get." "Yes," Carla's enthusiasm was palpable. "Let's make this day a celebration, but also a serious call to action. We will gather not just for fun, but to showcase what we can build together for the future." Jack felt the energy shift. Maybe this knock was precisely what they needed. With Carla's connections and Sarah's unwavering support, thoughts of failure began to recede, replaced by an electrifying sense of unity. "Okay, let's talk details," Jack said, his voice now resolute. "What do we need to set this up?" As they discussed plans, excitement filling the room, Jack's earlier fears began to dissipate. Each word exchanged felt like forging a bond, making them stronger. But amid the hopeful chatter about food stalls and activities, a shadow still flickered at the back of Jack's mind. What about the bank?
Would even their best efforts be enough to impress lenders? He pushed the thought aside, focusing on the present. Okay, let's finalize the details by tomorrow, Carla said, clapping her hands. We'll meet again and I'll reach out to business owners tonight. We'll need a strong pitch. Just as the excitement began to swell in the room, another knock disrupted the flow. This one felt different, more urgent. Jack exchanged glances with Sarah and Tom, his heart racing again. Seriously? He whispered. Tentatively, he opened the door again, this time met by a stern figure. It was Greg, the bank manager who had loaned them the initial funds. Jack, Greg said, his tone heavy. We need to talk. It's about your initiative. Jack's stomach dropped once more. Whatever momentum they had just built felt like it was teetering on the edge. What was Greg here to say? Would this be the end or a new beginning?
With his heart in his throat, Jack gripped the doorframe, steeling himself for another storm. What would this man reveal, and could it change everything once again? Jack's heart raced as he took a step back, letting Greg into the room. The gravity in Greg's expression made Jack's mind whirl with dark scenarios. He couldn't shake the feeling that tomorrow would not be the joyful rally they had hoped for. Let's sit down, Greg said, motioning toward the living room. The way he spoke felt formal, almost unnatural in the midst of their excitement. Jack glanced at Sarah and Tom, fear mirrored in their eyes. They followed Greg's lead, settling onto the worn sofa, while Carla remained standing, her posture rigid with uncertainty. We've reviewed your proposal, Greg began, his tone very businesslike. The air grew thick with the unspoken tension, every second stretching on like an eternity. It has merit, but I have serious concerns. Concerns? Jack asked, the word escaping his lips with a mix of desperation and defiance. Yes, Greg continued, folding his hands. I think you underestimate the financial challenges ahead. The community rally is a great idea, but will it really create enough momentum? There's a lot of competition for funding, and banks are tightening their belts. With the current economic landscape, it's risky. Jack felt his stomach knot. Hadn't they just begun to dream? Didn't the possibility of support feel within grasp? Sarah reached for his hand, squeezing it tight. He could feel the warmth in her grip, a small comfort in the flood of doubt. I understand, Jack said, trying to rally his voice, but we're doing this for our future, for the community. It's not just about numbers on a piece of paper. The numbers matter, Jack, Greg replied sharply, yet Jack could detect a flicker of something in his eyes. Was it sympathy? Look, I want to see you succeed, I really do, but we need to take a serious look at what you're offering. Carla, standing like a soldier ready for battle, spoke up. We can make it work. We have plans, connections. We're rallying people. The community cares. People care. Greg met her gaze, and for a breathless moment, the weight shifted. You have passion, he admitted. I respect that. Yet, without a solid backing, your passion alone isn't enough to convince the bank. Jack clenched his fists, feeling the pressure build. He thought of everyone who trusted them, of the lives they could help change. What if we showed you? The rally isn't just about one day, it's about what that day represents. We can demonstrate there's a need, a desire to stand together. Greg's eyes softened briefly before the stern mask returned. You'll have to prove it. A strong showing at your fundraiser could sway things in your favor, but I can't make any promises. Then it's settled, Jack said, determination flooding his voice. We will show you. We're not giving up. We can turn this around together.
All right, Greg said, a hint of a smile teasing the corners of his mouth. Let's see what you can do. I'll be watching closely. As Greg turned to leave, Jack felt a mix of relief and stress. With the bank still in play, they had everything to lose, but now they had something to fight for, something to prove. As Greg closed the door behind him, the thick atmosphere began to lighten. Carla beamed, her enthusiasm contagious, while Tom and Sarah exchanged relieved glances. They were still a team, and their moment to rally the community was fast approaching. Let's get to work, Jack declared, adrenaline coursing through him. Carla, can you help organize the pitch for local businesses? Tom, hold on to your contacts for volunteers. Sarah, we need a press release. This can't just be about us anymore. It's about everyone who believes this community can thrive. The clamor of voices filled the room, each plan bouncing off the walls, building a sense of purpose. Jack felt his heart swell. They had hope again. But as he caught Carla's eye, a lingering thought crept in. What if they failed to sway the bank? What if Greg walked back through that door with news that shattered their dreams all over again? It was a risk. It was their dream, and it was all on the line. And with their hopes now at stake, Jack couldn't help but wonder,
Was the rally truly going to change everything, or would it merely delay the inevitable? Jack barely slept that night. His mind raced through a jumble of possibilities, both uplifting and crushing. As the dawn broke, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, he found himself restless on the couch, the weight of their impending rally hanging heavily on his chest. He finally decided to shake off the anxiety by heading out for a run. The crisp morning air filled his lungs, invigorating him with each stride. As he rounded the park, I spotted familiar faces, neighbors I had grown up with, their children playing on swings that creaked with nostalgia. A flash of determination surged through him. This rally wasn't just about funding, it was about showcasing their community, their potential, and their solidarity. Feeling a spark of hope, he returned home and found Sarah in the kitchen, brewing coffee. Her eyes lit up when she saw him. "You look energized," she exclaimed, wrapping her arms around him. "Did you have a runner's high or something?" "Just needed to clear my head," he admitted with a smile. "We need to craft our message. Let's remind everyone why this rally is so important." She nodded, her expression thoughtful. "What if we reached out to old friends? You know, people who may not even realize how we all can contribute." Tom entered the kitchen, holding a stack of flyers. "I just finished the designs. What do you think?" Holding one up, Jack felt pride swell within him. The order of the colors and text captured the spirit of their ambition. They would print these flyers and plaster every corner of town. Yeah.
This is perfect. Let's get everyone on board. With newfound energy coursing through them, the trio spent the day organizing community contacts, drafting emails, and reaching to old friends for support. Each ping of their inbox filled Jack with excitement. They were accepting invitations to the rally, rallying behind their cause. People they hadn't spoken to in years showed up, curious and inspired. By the afternoon, Carlos swung through the door, holding a stack of local business cards. "I managed to gather a few local sponsors. They loved the idea of supporting the community rally." Jack's heart swelled at the thought of people actually rallying behind them. "This is amazing, Carla. If we can show that support, it'll make a huge difference." That night, as they gathered in Jack's living room, they suddenly felt like a family, united in a common goal. The aroma of pizza wafted through the air, making the moment feel light, filled with laughter and camaraderie. They brainstormed creative ideas on how to engage the community even further. Suddenly, Jack stopped, his heart racing again, but this time with optimism. "Let's do a talent show," he exclaimed, grinning from ear to ear. "People can showcase what they love doing. This isn't just about raising funds, it's about connecting. It'll remind us of our strengths and our joy." The room erupted in approval, each voice flooding with enthusiasm. As the night came to a close, Carla pulled Jack aside. Her expression was serious now, her brow furrowed with concern. "What if we can't pull it off? What if it doesn't go as planned, and we let everyone down?" Jack took a deep breath, staring out at the community they were trying to mobilize. "What if we do? What if we change everything? We have to believe in ourselves first, and if we stand together, there's nothing we can't achieve." With a renewed spirit, they each retreated to their homes, ready to embark on this journey for their community. But the nagging doubts in Jack's mind wouldn't go away. He quickly jotted down a note to reach out to Greg again, just to keep him in the loop. As he drifted off to sleep, he could almost hear the laughter and excitement of the rally. But just moments before he fully fell asleep, a chilling thought pierced through his mind. What if the support they had gathered wasn't enough when they needed it most? The challenge loomed larger than life, and Jack knew the real test was yet to come. Would their small town truly come together, or would ambition fail them at the very moment they needed each other most? The day of the rally dawned bright and hopeful, a perfect summer day that seemed to promise possibility. Jack stood at the park entrance, watching families drift in, laughter ringing in the air like the sweetest melody. His heart raced, a mix of excitement and anxiety swirling within him. The weight of the event pressed down deeply, but he had prepared as best he could.
As the crowd began to gather, Jack felt the cool breeze brush against his face, momentarily calming the storm inside. This was it, his chance. They had worked tirelessly to turn their ideas into reality, and now he had to trust that the community would respond. "Jack, over here!" Sarah called, waving excitedly as she emerged from the throng of familiar faces, holding a colorful stack of flyers. "Everyone's ready for the talent show. You should see these kids. They can't wait to perform." His heart warmed at her enthusiasm.
That's awesome. Let's get everyone gathered up. As they rounded people up, the anticipation built like a crescendo. Families mingled, local businesses set up booths to showcase their goods, and friends reconnected, laughter weaving through conversations. The energy was electric, a tangible force of unity that had long been missing from Willow Creek. "Okay, folks," Jack shouted, stepping up onto the makeshift stage. As he looked out over the sea of faces, some he hadn't seen in years, his heart swelled with hope. "Welcome to our first annual Willow Rise Community Rally." Cheers erupted. Families gathered with their children, smiles lighting up their faces. Jack felt the connection, the sense of belonging that had driven him to reclaim his roots. "As you all know," he continued, "we're here to rally together, not just for a cause, but to demonstrate how much we care for each other. This is about each one of us, what we can build when we stand united." The crowd responded, enthusiasm rumbling like thunder. Jack paused, taking in the moment. This wasn't just about fundraising. It was about rebuilding the trust and love that had once thrived in this town. As the talent show kicked off, Jack found himself swept up in the joy surrounding him. Children sang, neighbors showcased hidden skills, and the warmth of community flowed freely. The applause echoed loudly, each cheer propelling Jack's heart higher. But as the day progressed, a familiar face appeared at the fringes of the gathering. Jack's stomach dropped when he saw Greg approach, flanked by other bank representatives. It felt like a warning signal cutting through the jubilant atmosphere. "Jack," Greg called out, his serious demeanor stark against the festive spirit. "Can we talk?" "Sure," Jack said, his tone steady, though apprehension gnawed at him. He motioned for Sarah to follow, to stand strong by his side. "What's going on?" Sarah asked, sensing the tension. "Your rally is impressive," Greg admitted, nodding toward the bustling crowd. "But remember what we discussed. I'm not here to rain on your parade, but I need to stress—" "It's working," Jack interrupted, emboldened by the voices of support resonating in the background. "You see the community here. They care. This isn't just a rally. This is a movement." Greg's expression softened slightly, but he remained composed. "Your passion is evident, and I respect that. But we need to see hard numbers, a solid plan."
You need more than enthusiasm to convince the bank. Jack's heart sank. Was this all they would see? He turned back to the festivities, the laughter, the joy surrounding him like a warm embrace. "We can show you. If you join us, if we can map out a vision together, we want to make a lasting impact." Greg hesitated, and for a second, Jack felt a flicker of hope. "Let's talk numbers then. Fair play. But come to me with a realistic proposal." "Deal," Jack replied firmly. "Let's make this work." As Greg nodded and walked away, Jack returned to the rally, a renewed sense of purpose pushing him forward. The truth was clear. Today wasn't just about securing funds. It was about igniting hope. By the time the sun began to set, the rally had transformed into a celebration of shared dreams. Jack grasped the microphone once more, addressing the crowd with gratitude. "You've all shown me what community truly means. Together, we can challenge the odds and build a brighter future for Willow Creek." The cheers rang loud, drowning out the remnants of doubt that still lingered in Jack's heart. He glanced at Sarah, beaming with pride, and felt a deep connection spark between them, a thread woven anew through honesty, vulnerability, and shared purpose. As the festivities wrapped up, Jack felt a sense of assurance. They were on the cusp of something extraordinary. They were not just fighting against the odds. They were ready to build a new legacy, standing shoulder to shoulder, heart to heart, with their hometown. In that moment, Jack knew he had taken the first step toward redefining himself and reconnecting with the values it took to truly be a part of something larger than himself. The shadows of his past faded as he embraced the fresh light of unity and love, standing tall in the heart of Willow Creek. And as he looked out over the crowd one last time, he realized the time for change had come, and together they would rise. Now, if you felt that spark of hope in this story, it's time to take action. You need to subscribe now to keep up with more incredible tales like this. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and grow our community. Every thumbs up counts. Comment below your favorite moment from this story and share your feelings about this inspiring transformation.
And don't wait, not even one more second, to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. True fans know the power of supporting stories that matter.